Can I just add something? See,
Yes,
when you're saying gluten free, I doubt if there is any technology available now in India where they can separate the gluten from the wheat. Else, please go ahead with your millets, which
Yes,
are gluten free.
there is millets, there is oats also. Oats doesn't contain.
Oats nowadays they have this natural rolled oats and steel cut oats. There are a lot of controversy, and these are all marketing gimmicks. And the best thing is, you have to tell the user, please go ahead with the available gluten-free cereals. That is the
right.
best approach.
Yeah.
Like for example, when you are talking about the protein powder which has been imported, what is the PDCAS score? Nobody is going to. No, the organization has to first educate them that you have to know what is a PDCAS score, then sell the protein. But nowadays you have protein house and everything building up muscles. These are all steroids, and we have done the test.
Okay,
Yes,
so I think we should start.
Yes.
yes, sir.
So our module 5 talks about support services. So support services are mostly the testing facility, pest control, cleaning maintenance, waste handling, training, audit documentation, traceability, and recall. So one by one we'll see. See, quality control, quality assurance, some people call it as called QC laboratory, some QA laboratory. Okay. So depending on the terminologies, what is requirement by the meat processing facility or regulatory requirement is basic testing, like you should be able to test incoming material, in process material, and finished goods. So finished goods, we have seen that table 5A and 5U. For microbiological examination, you should have laboratory which can analyze air, water, personal hygiene swabs. There can be knives swabs also sometime, packaging material swabs sometime. So pathogen testing can also be carried out. There is no if you are having pathogen testing laboratory, then there are definitely certain high care requirement where you can have high HEPA filters, or laboratories completely segregated in another building, or there is prevention of movement from laboratory to other process area. Okay, so that practices has to be followed. Main thing is this should not open directly into process area. Idea is, again, intent is prevention of cross contamination. Then next is finished product should conform to microbial standard. So which microbial standard, which we have seen, microbial standard for meat is coming under 5A and 5B. 5B talks about food safety criteria, that is pathogens, and 5A talks about hygiene indicators like aerobic plate count, yeast and mold, okay, staphylococcus. These are indicators of hygiene. So both the things you should be able to, or if you don't have in-house laboratory, then there has to be arrangement for getting testing as per the frequency defined in external lab. But mandatory thing here is your finished product should be tested once in 6 months for parameters specified in contaminants and toxin regulation. Okay, that is one. Then microbiological part from food additive standards, that is second. This parameter you should get it analyzed. If you are claiming something, again that parameter should come, like high protein. So high protein means, again, that parameter has to be there in analysis. Like that, there will be heavy metals analysis, pesticide analysis, drug residues, antibiotic residues, then naturally occurring toxins, okay, aflatoxins, that will come under this 6 monthly testing. Okay, because in-house we cannot test each batch for the contaminants which are there in the contaminant toxin regulation. And we need to retain samples. Now important is 1 year shelf life. We have to retain sample 1 year. at least 1 year. Minimum 1 year we have to maintain till the end of the shelf life. Now pest control. Pest control is again pest control system. So pest control will be through an integrated pest management. Integrated pest management talks about the approach which is called as 4D approach, which we will discuss. Controlling pest infestation is important. The person who is carrying out pest spraying outside area or providing the service should be having the license that is under Insecticide Act. Then there has to be immediate actions on if you found out there is a pest infestation, even single case, because there can be a bigger issue. So in terms of cockroaches, like we find some dead cockroach and then we have to get to the root of that area from where it is coming. Okay, bed station, even bed station which is like poisonous bed should be kept outside area. Inside area you can use glue pads. Okay, pesticide spraying is only allowed outside area, not inside process area. Apart from that, there has to be like container label has to be approved. They should be on the file. MSDS has to be there. There are multiple requirements. So that need to be coming under pest control. So FSSAI may talk about pest control, but we have to do more than that. Okay. They may not be detailing this because regulations are like that only. Okay. They may not detail it, but expectation is more like this Pestoplast. Okay. They can be of insectigator, like the insect get disintegrated in first Pestoplast. In second, it gets stick. Okay, so inside you can have sticking type, outside you can have killing type. Okay, that killing like breaking type, because this type of where insect get disintegrated, if it is inside, it will fall into the product. Again, contamination will happen. So considering this, you have to use these devices as a monitoring devices, not the killing devices. Okay, so it's not a killing device, it's a monitoring device where we will get back below it. There is a tray where insect will fall and you will be able to count the numbers or weight in grams. So based on that, you can decide there is increase in contamination of flies. So this is a method where you need to ensure that 4D method of pest control is followed, where you will have to first deny entry, seal all the areas. In food processing, if you are allowing small open area, it will cause pest entry and it will again breeding and then further problem. So make sure there is a prevention by fixing, by air curtain, by steel curtain, by mesh. Okay, then we deny shelter by providing avoiding false ceiling. Shelter can be avoided by preventing the gaps, crevasses. Okay, small holes. Rodent can enter from a small hole also, so it is not to be avoided. Then denying food, once they enter, no, if we don't give them food, they will go back because they are there in search of food. Many times rats, rodents, they enter the processing area and they damage the equipment by cutting the wires and all inside. They stay there. Okay, and during night time they might cut the wire, so there is a huge loss on behalf of equipment assets. And even food, there can be a food safety issue. So deny food, don't ensure cleanliness, housekeeping, and then automatically they will not come inside because they don't get any food inside. Fourth D is eradication. Eradication can be done by having insectigator at particular area where you can monitor, and then based on that decide the spraying frequency and area which need to be sprayed. So this can be used. Glue pad also can be used. Where rats, there are now communications happening that rats also should not get issue, so they are working on preventing glue pads also. But ideally, as pest control agency suggests us, we have to follow that protocol. Maintain MSDS, important. Ensure safety, because the person who is spraying that person's safety is also important. Okay, and if there is a toxicity, serious toxicity, you need to have trained team member on giving first aid, or nearest hospital has to be identified. Okay, do not store it in open area. Do not store in facility because it is you don't have license to store that pesticide. That is a requirement under Insecticide Act. You should have license. Okay. Now coming to cleaning sanitation. Cleaning sanitation, those cleaning sanitation protocol which we are following must be based on validations. Okay, validation. What is that meaning? Validation means we are taking the microbial swabs, cleaning it, sanitizing it, and then again taking the swab. So what is the reduction percent? If it is not reducing significantly, then we need to increase the concentration or time. The chemical change can also happen. We can change chemical also. Based on that, our methods of cleaning should be validated. And we need to have monitoring arrangement for checking the effectiveness. Like there are equipments, ATP bioluminescence, where cleaning can be checked in a minute. Like you can just take a swab, put in the equipment, that small equipment machine, ATP bioluminescence, ATP, it will give the reading. Based on that reading, you can decide it's clean or not. Okay, so person responsible for cleaning has to be identified. His training, uh, proper training has to happen. Okay, and records of training has to be maintained, including the cleaning of cleaning equipment is also important, like the foggers, foaming machines, sprays which we use. Those also need to be cleaned at periodic interval. These are the steps which we need to follow. In meat processing, it's mostly the meat pieces, fat, other product residues. Sometimes it is a plastic material, sometimes bones. Okay, so removing of this is dry cleaning. Okay, remove that. It's not like water you should put it in drainage. You remove it separately so that your cleaning chemical requirement, water requirement will significantly come down. So you need to soak. Soak means small equipment can be soaked, but some equipment can be sprayed with the foam. Okay, fogger. Fogger will help you to reach to area where hands will not reach. So fog will go inside and it will loosen that small pieces or meat pieces. So soaking, then physical cleaning. Sometimes manually we have to scrub. Suppose it is a crate, suppose it is a small ball. So this all has to be scrubbed. Okay, so it can be manually done, physical cleaning. Then it is rinsing. Okay, appropriate time is given. Then rinsing is to make sure detergent is removed, then drying it. Drying means removal of excess water. It can be done by allowing the equipment, standing it for some time, or small equipment can be paper towels can be used, or it can be scrapped with the scrubber. It depends. Like floor can be scrapped with scrubber to make it dry. Okay, sanitation, sanitizing agents can be applied. There are different sanitizing agents approved for food industry, which is mainly sodium hypochlorite. Then there can be quaternary ammonium compound. There can be peroxide based compounds are there. Okay, so this can be used as a terminal disinfectant. And then suppose you are keeping the equipment for more time, it has to be rinsed and again sanitized, and then you can use it for processing. So cleaning and sanitation, what are do's and don'ts need to be known to the person. Okay, uh, temperature of water in case of sanitation, it is 82 degree, but ideally if you are using pressurized water, it should be 50 to 60. Okay, you can go up to 65, but 50 to 60 is ideal. Cleaning and sanitation program, because sometimes if your temperature is more, it will cook the meat and it will expand, and then we cannot be able to, I mean, it will be difficult to remove. That is the reason ideally 50 to 60 degree. This program should also cover floors, wall, other areas, and then make sure there is no dog, cat, birds inside process area. Okay, sometimes it is like there are entry areas and cat may come inside. So make sure those all gaps are closed. Okay. Yeah, building periodic washing, painting has to be done. That is again important part. Then coming to cleaning sanitation of waste bin, this has to be non-handout operated, and it can be cleanable. Okay, proper cover has to be fit above that, above the waste bin. Water potability criteria shall be is like followed for cleaning and sanitation water, that 10,500. Okay, is 10,500. Chillers again, chiller is the area where there will be continuous storage of carcass, and there will be dripping, there will be smell coming up. So chiller also needs cleaning frequently. That is again depending on your storage volume, depending on the time required validation. It will be like every 4 to 8 hours you can have once round of cleaning of the chillers. Equipments and tools, there has to be my voice. Okay. Cleaning and sanitation of equipments and tool prevent contamination. Then we can say the storage has to be above the ground, away from the wall. Ideally, if those chemicals are not problematic for the material which is used, like plastic, chlorine will make plastic brittle. So you need to have quaternary ammonium compound. Okay, it can be stored in quaternary ammonium compound, and whenever you want to use it, you can use it directly. Okay, so equipments and tool installation has to be there. That with the principle of away from the ground, above the ground, away from the wall. It can be wall mounted. Chemicals should be stored separately. There has to be separate storage area with lock and key arrangement. Proper storage of chemicals means the compatible chemicals should be stored together. Non-compatible should be stored away. Never mix toxic chemical in the storage. Toxic chemicals should not be stored in the chemical where food chemicals are stored, like internal sanitizer or detergent where equipment is they are used for equipment cleaning. You should not store toxic chemicals. Okay. Now coming to maintenance. Yes. Okay. Maintenance. Now there has to be preventive maintenance program. Now poultry slaughterhouses, there are multiple equipments like the entire line which is running, then stunner, then scalder, defeathering machine is there. Sometimes evisceration automatic machines are there. Spin chiller is there. Okay, deboning machines are there. So all machines need to have preventive maintenance program. Metal detectors are there. So this should be internally and externally calibrated. Certain equipments like need external calibration. Metal detector, thermometers. Okay, so those needs to be calibrated and status has to be there on the equipment. Corrective maintenance. Preventive is before breakdown happens. Corrective maintenance is mostly breakdown happens and then person goes there and carry out the maintenance. That is corrective maintenance, and there has to be post maintenance verification. Now in some cases quality assurance team members goes there and they check the equipment. If there are any residues, oil, grease, loose atoms, they will check it and then release the equipment. Never allow temporary fix to any equipment which is in direct contact. Okay, if temporary fix is allowed, then we should monitor it for its integrity and it should be replaced as soon as possible once you get the spares. Okay, so make sure product doesn't go. If you miss that, sometimes people are putting tape, sometimes they are putting stickers, plastic, okay, to fix something or some loose board. Okay, so this will go into the product and will cause a problem. So that is the reason temporary fixes should not be allowed. You should make sure that food grade grease is used where there is a direct contact surface, nearby direct contact surface, bearings. Okay, based on the risk, you need to make sure that you use food grade grease. Food grade grease doesn't mean that you can eat it. Whenever there is a problem or it falls into the product, it will not cause any harm. That is the purpose of food grade grease. Equipment breakdown record has to be maintained. There has to be loose item control policy, nut bolts, whatever maintenance people are taking it inside, they should carry outside. Sometimes they forget. You might have heard the cases where doctor forgot the scissor inside the stomach after operating. Okay, so they realize it after some time, and then again they have to reoperate. Here also it is similar thing. If you put loose something inside, then it will go to the customer. There are chances. Okay, so make sure this is followed. Waste disposal we have already discussed. Efficient drainage system, plumbing system should be proper. Slope has to be there. Open drainage should not be there. because majority of the time once we put the solid material, it remains. So the proper drainage, there has to be rounding, my round bottom, so that it will easily move. Slope is important, okay, and it should be connected to the effluent treatment area. Okay, waste disposal, we have discussed this part. Waste disposal system should be, there is a pollution control norm like consent for establishment, consent for operation, consent for CFE, CFO. Okay, so consent for operation is about running that ETP plant. Consent for establishing that plant. So we should have that, and the entire water or wastewater has to be treated through this. Okay, this is one of the color coding methodology. This will help you to identify, sort different types of waste. All the waste which is generated in process area, that specifically meat, bone meal, inedible fat, all this should be rendered, that is cooked and made into powder form. That is the ideal thing. Okay. Training and management. So whenever we are conducting training, now today also there will be one exam at the end of training. This exam once cleared, then only you will get this particular score for passing that. I don't know, Mr. Gaurav has explained. I am don't. I think he has put or not, but there will be 60% mark, right? There will be 60% mark for passing, right? Okay. So training on basic food hygiene. Yeah. Okay. So training on basic food hygiene safety practices, which should include handling poultry product, carcass, pest control, personal hygiene, cleaning, sanitation, all this. So these need to be given to all people involved in FSMS implementation, supervisors, internal auditors. Sometimes training needs has to be identified. Apart from that, also people need some training. So training need has to be defined. Their evaluation has to be done. Effectiveness has to be checked. Okay, whether they are doing it. Suppose we are training them for hand washing and they are not washing hand, that means training was not effective. Okay, then it has to be checked. There has to be induction training for new employees, and there has to be refresher training also. All this training record has to be maintained. Okay. Now training management must be based on documented procedure. Okay, there has to be documented procedure. Now any FSMS system, it will be based on Plan, Do, Check, Act. Okay, PDCA. So planning means it is about your SOPs, processes, procedures. Doing means actually you are doing it, then recording it. Okay, checking it means if there is a problem, you're checking it or monitoring it and then taking action. Okay, so the entire cycle of any standard or system is based on that PDCA. So make sure your managers are competent enough. They know how this product safety is to be maintained. Then they should be able to judge food hazards, biological, chemical, microbial hazard, chemical hazards. They need to be understanding those. They should be able to take appropriate preventive corrective actions and also ensure effective monitoring and supervision. Their education should be appropriate, qualification, experience for that particular role. Okay, and now this is one of the requirement, like there is a self evaluation and external audit. So now FSSAI has approved certain agency auditing agencies to carry out the audit related to the checklist designed by them. So that audit is that can be annual, but high risk it is important. This poultry, annually we should go for one external audit. You can do internal evaluation audit, but mandatory requirement is you have to go for external audit also. Okay, FSMS system is different, but as per FSSAI requirement, you should go or undergo the audit, and that audit report also will be that can be asked during form D1 filling. Okay, right now form D1 filling is online, so you have to consider that. Okay. Audit documentation and records. So periodic audit report has to be there. GMP, GHP audit, and you should maintain those records till shelf life. But recommendation is shelf life plus 1 year. You should maintain the record. Okay, so whichever is more. So shelf life, suppose 1 year. So 1 plus 1 you can make and keep it for 2 years. So that is easier. Okay, sometimes at the end of shelf life we destroy and then we might get query on that particular thing. Okay, and we are not able to take it back. So 1 plus 1 year is enough. Suppose 1 year shelf life, you have to just add. Suppose 3 days shelf life, you add it 1 and keep it for 1 year. 1 year, 3 days maximum. Okay, but certain in-house requirements are also there that you have to follow. Yeah.
So please come again. First
Regarding,
is the self life. So first is the self life, then 1 year.
Yeah, that is ideally people are keeping it. Suppose shelf life is 12 months, people are keeping it for 2 years.
Okay. So is it like, I'm not saying that it is mandatory, but it is the best practices. I suppose to keep the document.
Yes, we have to keep the document. Yeah. So FSSAI will not mandate this thing, but it is like sometime it is required. So we need to have that record. Even we need sometime a record of even expired product is expired. We need to have record. Okay.
So is it in a poultry environment? What is, how do we keep the written document and the maintained document?
Retention of the document can be a shelf life plus 1 year. That is a simple practice that can be done. We can keep, see, people are keeping it for 3 years, 5 years. Some organizations keep it for 8 years. Some soft copies can be kept for 99 years. Okay. So depending on system, if you have soft system, then no need to, it will remain there. But hard copies, shelf life plus 1 year. That is a thumb rule. Okay. Now, product information and consumer awareness. So what is the importance of product information? Anybody?
Sir, actually product information gives the customer the basic data of the product. Along with that, they can also check the quality and quality parameter and its shelf life also.
Right.
But product information also is as per the provision of the Food Safety and Standard Act of 2006.
Yes. See,
that is the
product information and labeling is required to so that consumer makes the informed choice. That is the important thing here. See, labeling is for whom? Labeling is for consumer. Okay, it's not for we can say. See, regulations are there, but regulations are for consumer safety. So anything which we do, it's for consumer, so that consumer will make informed. Suppose example, we wrote that there is a allergen gluten on the label. If consumer is allergic, he will not buy the product. Okay, he will buy some other product. So
when you say you say product information and labeling, what do we mean by product information and labeling? Is it something which has been given in the label, or is it something else?
No, product information talks about the product name, ingredients, okay, where it is manufactured, who manufactured it, like that.
Okay.
Cooking instructions, storage instructions.
And so labeling is the process in which you give the
labeling is a
value
process
and
which,
all.
Yes.
And you give the information.
Yeah. Okay. We give information through labeling. That is one way to say it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, sir, this is the consumer right, so we have to give the information.
Yes, we have to give the information, and even regulation are asking about that. So that is the reason you start as a food safety supervisor, becoming food FOSTEC trained special course food safety supervisor. You should start checking the label. You just if you are at home, whenever you get time, you go and check the label, one label. Okay. Today also you start, evening also you go home. If you are at office, go home and check your labels. Okay, there are multiple labels in our house. You can check it. It is differently. Yesterday I had this Haldiram's that particular product. Okay, sweet. So,
sir, if we are exporting our product and it is exclusively for export, and we are not selling in our domestic market, in that case, suppose we are supposed to label our product as per our FSSAI regulation, or we should follow the importing countries rule? Because some of the importing countries, they even say that you don't put this veg, non-veg logo, all those things they are actually denying.
Yes, yes. So you
So
have to
in that
follow
case-
importing countries regulation. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. In this case, importing countries regulation you have to follow, but
Yeah.
you have to give declaration that these products will not be sold in Indian market. Okay.
Okay.
Authority might ask you that
Yeah.
they will take the declaration that you should not
Yeah.
sell in Indian market.
Okay. Right.
So consumer awareness is important, that we should give information where consumer will not do any mistake, and he will make sure the product is consumed properly. That intended use. Remember the intended use. This is where it comes. Okay. So storage preference. Sometimes people will take frozen chicken and keep it outside, allow it to thaw, and evening they might put it in a freezer. So till that time it might have spoiled. Okay, it might like chill temperature. Then they put it in a freezer and again remove it, and sometime it is, they will feel that it is spoiled. They launch the complaint. So in such cases, ideally the instruction has to be very clear, that do not thaw. Okay, use directly. If once open, refrigerate within 30 minutes or 1 hour, whatever time you have to validate it. That an entire thing what we are putting has to be validated, like cooking instruction. Cooking instruction has to be validated, right? So it's important. This part is important. All parts, but this is specifically consumer comes. There is a requirement that complaint handling system. We should have complaint handling now. FSSA has given recall procedure.
So one question over here.
Yes.
It is related to that, like when we are talking about consumer awareness.
Okay.
It's just a question for my knowledge, academic knowledge basically.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you thaw a poultry meat, which is the thumb rule, which is the best process? Running water or freezing in a freezer or microwave.
Okay. Now it depends on what facilities you have, but anything which is getting thawed has to be minimum time. Okay, and if it is to be used as a chill, it should not go beyond that temperature. So ideally, to answer your question, if you want to thaw your time, you can thaw it in chiller at 0 to 4 degree frozen. Okay, it will take 24 to 48 hours. But if you don't have time, you have to use microwave. Right? You should not should not thaw it in a room temperature where temperature is 35 degree. Ideally, it has to be always thawed in a 0 to 4 degree. Okay, and it will retain the characteristic of meat. But where large volumes are handled, no, they use microwave thawing. Entire the quantity will go inside.
At times, they say that okay, running water with a 18 to 20 degrees centigrade.
Yes, yes. See, household purpose it can be done, but industrial purpose this will not work.
And which is the household purpose? Which is the best temperature of running water?
Running water can be used because you are going to immediately consume.
So
Okay.
what is the ideal temperature?
See, any case, chilled product temperature should not go below above 4 degree.
Okay.
Okay. So you should see chicken. It is only two temperature mainly 0 to 4 degree and minus 18 degree. Okay. So because it retains that characteristic, it will not spoil, because above 5 it will start spoiling faster. Okay. Now coming to complaint handling. The complaint handling has to be there. Any process which is set by the organization which is working, there has to be one person who is getting the complaints from consumers. There has to be now people are putting QR codes. Then there are multiple phone numbers are there. Then email is there. Okay, or certain links are also given, so you can launch the complaint. So depending on organization method or SOP, there has to be complaint handling system. Okay, you have to identify the root cause, Then in terms of some corrections required, you correct it. Corrective action is detecting the root cause and taking action on it. That has to be followed, and there has to be trending and analysis and continual improvement. Majority of the industry where complaint handling system is there, they monitor it through per 100 metric ton or per 10 metric ton or per metric ton complaints, like that. So that depends. So trending has to be based on the targets set, okay, and each complaint has to be analyzed. Okay. In between there is exercise now. So anybody from poultry slaughter plant? I think I can see some of the people from SKM. So whose responsibility is to provide information given on label in your meat or poultry plant?
So actually, the information given on label will be mainly provided by the R&D department.
R&D, okay.
So the complete information is given by the R&D department only, sir.
Okay.
So also quality control.
Sometimes quality assurance team or quality control team, they are also involved into that. So
Quality.
have you discussed this regulatory requirement now? Recently, the labeling display regulation requirement has come. So have you discussed
Yes,
that?
sir.
You discussed, no? You are discussing that requirement. Anytime you have identified a market complaint because of labeling, or in your personal case also, suppose individually went and there was an expiry date written, but still they were selling, like that?
Yes, sir. There is Amul Cool that is packaged flavored milk available in the market. I just registered a complaint about the curdling of the milk.
Okay.
After 48 to 72 hours, they registered the complaint,
Okay.
and also provided the compensation.
Okay.
And I am already satisfied with their system, Amul.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
might be due to leakage or something.
yes, maybe there
So
is.
what happened? So can I join in?
Yes. Yes.
See, in a Tetra Pak, what happens is it bloats up.
Yeah.
It bloats. Then you know that yes, something is wrong.
Yes.
And why I asked you about the thawing and other thing is because at times what happens is that when you take a Amul fresh cream, these guys who are in the retail, they keep it in a different temperature environment.
Yeah.
And that creates a problem because when you pour it out first, at times, water comes, then the that thick portion of the cream comes in. So
Yes.
it is bad.
Yeah.
So you go and do it. And here also we have a local milk.
Yeah.
Government milk, home fed.
Yeah.
The cover of the curd, it bloats up. So it is bad.
Yes.
So
It
we
is
have given,
indication.
it is an indication. We have given and they have accepted it. Or the chas also, it bloats up.
Yes. Yes. But mostly that's a failure in maybe during handling.
So everything, handling, Q&C, they don't see the trend, like what you said, trend analysis. How
Yes.
many complaints does it come? Somebody has to be serious about it. And if you put it in a time series graph, then you can have a correlation between then you go to the traceability. Where the
Yes.
milk has come, whether you have done it, who is the worker over there. The root cause analysis is not there, RCA.
Yeah, it's important. Now what is happening now? FSSAI has one app which is where consumer can launch the complaint. Okay. So that app, it's like it is going to register, and even the POSCOS portal. POSCOS portal is new licensing portal.
Yes, sir.
This complaint data will be available. Okay, so they have made a provision onto that. So it is FSSAI is improving on many aspects, and it's like fastest regulations are coming up. It will help both the industry as well as consumers.
So when you said responsibility of the info, it is basically the R&D, QC, and the supervisor also, line supervisor.
Yes, line supervisor also. They have to check. Yes.
They have to check, like somebody has to do the monitoring and verification.
Yes, yes. Every time, one person has made mistake, that doesn't mean everybody should make mistake. Okay, it can be identified by the person. Okay, so that is the reason supervision. Okay, supervision, supervisor has come from that word, that he has got supervision. Okay, so yeah, coming to next topic now, food traceability and recall. FSSAI has guidance note on this. Okay, they have guidance on recall requirement, and that can be followed. That is available on the website, which we have seen morning hours. So important is traceability's importance is to identify from where it has come, so that we can minimize the damage, because sometimes consumer might buy that product and keep it at home. If we tell them that this batch number is having problem, they will not eat that product, and further damage can be prevented. So that is one purpose, and you can trace back to supply. Okay, entire chain can be traced back from where problem has come. Okay, so anytime there is a recall is getting your product back. Okay, so recall regulation 2017 describes the detail about that procedure, so which we can follow. But recall product, when your recall is there, we need to make sure it is held under supervision, so that nobody can use it. Okay, sometimes it get mixed, so make sure, because recall product is having some problem, it should not go into the market again. That is the reason labeling is important. Should make sure if it is safe, then only it can be. Sometimes quality defects are there, labeling error is there. Okay, in that case you can resend to market proper labeling, but make sure it is getting thoroughly checked. Okay, and regulatory guidelines you have to follow. That is food recall regulation 2017. Yes. Okay, any question till section B? Now this is the important section.
Sir, I would like to ask some question about the lubricant used in food industry.
Okay.
Some manufacturer of all these machineries recommend white petroleum as a lubricant. Would you think that is the best recommendation for us?
See, anything whether it is white, black, red, whichever color.
No,
important thing is
white petroleum, that is Vaseline and all.
Yeah, see, it should have food grade certificate or certificate where it is mentioning that it is approved. That is the only thing. Whether it is whatever is there, you should not. You can trust, but you should verify. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is always a quality assurance principle is trust but verify.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, as an auditor also, you can trust but verify. Always verify whether certificate, whether it is really food grade. In some cases, I have seen in some places there were people were adding the tissue paper in the milk to make it this milk as a thicker milk. Okay.
Tissue paper.
Tissue paper. So though it is like it is not going to cause any hazard, but it is not allowed there. Okay. So
yes,
this type of thing. So that is the reason, even if it is white Vaseline or something, we need to verify whether it is allowed there or not, and that is based on the certificate. Okay. Manufacturer, suppliers declaration is not helpful. Okay, remember this declaration anybody can give, but there has to be particular approval by agencies like NSF is there. Okay, then Pune there is a laboratory, chemical laboratory, where they can also give a certificate. So that has to be there. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now coming to the next part, food safety management system plan. This is important now. Those who have undergone HACCP training, they will understand it faster. Those who have not, they will need some time, but I will explain you through examples. Okay. So what we are going to see is we are going to see FSMS plan, HACCP, hazard, risk assessment. Okay. Now what is FSMS plan? So FSMS plan is nothing but a aggregation of pre-RPs, HACCP principle and all documentation. So entire thing comes under food safety management system. What is the role of FSMS? Yeah.
Sir, say it again, sir. Aggregation of
prerequisite programs, HACCP principle and the documentation, related documentation, like procedures, formats, records, all these things. Okay, simple meaning of that FSMS plan. Now, when we say FSMS, Food Safety Management System, okay, we will call it as a FSMS. So what it does, FSMS will be able to identify weaknesses in product line. HACCP can be used as a tool. Okay, HACCP is like just like a tool. Okay, if we use it properly, it will help us. If we don't use it properly, it will create problem. Mostly, HACCP, if it is implemented properly, it will help us to prevent problems or complaints. Okay, it's not like 100% foolproof system. It will not make your zero complaint, because it will have some limitation. People working there have some limitation. Okay, so HACCP plan will cover entire. It should cover entire supply chain from raw material to finished good. Okay, entire process has to be covered, even including in retail product. Final consumer use also need to be covered under HACCP, because consumer can make some mistake and can get into problem. If they don't cook chicken properly, they might get into problem if the meat is contaminated. Okay, so hence it is FSMS plan talks about entire food safety management. Now coming to HACCP. HACCP is a hazard analysis. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, there is like HACCP plan and SOPs, and there is like prerequisite programs. So, sir,
Yeah.
all these are the part of like we can say food safety management system, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sir.
Entire thing is FSMS. Okay, HACCP is
Okay.
part of that. HACCP we will
So
see
we
now.
can say
HACCP,
all these are the part of this
yes,
FSMS.
yes. See, if you further want to simplify this, HACCP is a heart of FSMS. Okay,
Okay.
then PRP is a base of FSMS, and
Okay.
documentation is a area which is running those things like management system element and food safety element. So documentation will help to run this system. Okay,
Okay, sir.
clear, no?
Yes, okay. Thank you.
So, sir, come again, sir. When you say PRP, PRP is the base of FSMS.
Yes, sir. FSMS base is PRP. PRP means good manufacturing practices, standard operating procedure, GSP is good agricultural practices. Okay, that is
Sir,
base.
before
Sir.
implementing HACCP, we have to follow the PRPs like GMP, GHPs, right?
Right. First thing is PRP. Without PRP, nothing comes further. HACCP will not be successful if you don't have PRP. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Then HACCP becomes the part of FSMS.
Yes. HACCP
And
is
when you are saying,
HACCP is the main part of FSMS.
and when you say documentation, it is which runs the system so that you can go and refer back and come back again.
Yes, yes. Okay. So these three things, these are important. Like documentation, we'll talk about procedures. So procedure is used for running the system. Okay. And record is again proving that we are running as per the system. So documentation will cover records, procedures and all. So it will help to run the system as a and PRPs. Okay. Training, other things will also come under that. So HACCP is designed to identify and assess hazards, establish measures for the control of hazards, and focus is on prevention. So HACCP, when we say HACCP, it is for prevention, and it is science based. Okay, it is capable of accommodating changes like change in process. Then it can be implemented throughout the food chain. Even poultry farm also we can implement HACCP. Even hatchery also we can implement HACCP. Okay, feed mill also we can implement HACCP. We can implement HACCP all the places wherever, even somebody wants in a pan shop also they can implement HACCP. Okay, so HACCP can be implemented anywhere.
ନମସ୍କାର ନମସ୍କାର ମୁଁ actually ଗୋଟେ training ରେ ଅଛି ମୁଁ ପଚାରୁଛି କଣ କି ଏବେ ଯୋଉ ଆସିଥିଲା ଗୋଟେ 2 ବର୍ଷ ପାଇଁ ଗୋଟେ
Okay, so next, what is required there? Full commitment from management and workforce, and it is a multidisciplinary approach. Okay, multidisciplinary means the team which is working there has to be multidisciplinary, different department, different functions, And when to use HACCP? When we design new product, when we design a new manufacturing process, modification of existing product or process, okay, we can implement or you can work on HACCP. Okay, choice of best option for product safety. This is the best choice right now. Now, coming to next step, understanding principles and prerequisites. So remember this thing, this is important again. Remember there are 5 prerequisites. Okay, how many prerequisites? 5 prerequisites and 7 principles. So 5 prerequisites is again, it's to successful HACCP. These 5 prerequisites are important. Without that, you cannot move ahead. Okay, so assembling HACCP team. First is HACCP team has to be assembled. HACCP team. What it does? It will describe the product. Team has to be multidisciplinary. Person from production, person from maintenance, person from new product development, person from storage, person from HR admin, persons from quality assurance, one person microbiologist, chemist, veterinarian. All this has to be there in the HACCP team. Okay, and then you have to describe the product. Describing product means its physical characteristic, its chemical characteristic, its biological characteristic, what are the allergens, what is the intended use. Intended use means how it is going to be consumed. Like there sometimes products can be consumed about 12 months of age, okay, cannot be consumed by infants. Like that there are certain uses. So document intended use has to be defined. You need to define process flow. Process flow has to be verified on site. Paper, see, computer you can make process flow, but actually this process flow has to be verified by going on site. We have seen from hanging to chilling. So entire process has to be verified on site. We need to put all the small things inside, from where waste is coming, from where water is touching, where food contact is touching to the product. All these details has to be added. Okay. Now coming to principle 1. Once we are through with these 5 steps, first principle is identifying hazards. So we are going to take example. You just learn this and I will take you through the one example of CCP. Okay, real-time example in poultry. So principle, identify hazards, like a conducting hazard analysis. There are 3 different types of hazard which you have seen. Allergen is one of the hazard from chemical hazard. Okay, so we need to identify hazard, identify critical control points. Then we need to establish critical limits. Okay, establish monitoring action. Critical limits is mostly, suppose we say cooked product at 75 above. So critical limit will be 75. So after that you have to establish monitoring action or monitoring procedure. Okay, what is to be done to monitor? Suppose temperature. So who will monitor, how it will be monitored, when it will be monitored, that has to be mentioned there. So this is a plan. Okay, remember this is a plan. So we are working on plan which will be describing everything what we are going to do. Then put corrective actions. Corrective actions is identifying the root cause and taking action on it. Corrective action. Then establish verification. Mostly there will be production person who will be monitoring it and there will be quality assurance person who will be verifying it. Okay, this is the structure in industry, majority of the industry. So there has to be records maintained. So these are 7 principles. Remember this, these are important as a okay. 5 prerequisites and 7 principles. Now we have learned about hazard. Yeah.
So can you quickly talk about the principles again? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it.
Okay. So first principle is identifying hazard, that is conducting a hazard analysis. Then second principle is determine critical control points. Third, establish critical limits for each CCP. Fourth, establish monitoring actions. Fifth principle, establish corrective actions or corrective action procedures. Principle 6, establish verification process. And principle 7, establish record keeping. Okay, record has to be maintained there. So these 7 principles and 5 prerequisites is important for a successful HACCP. So coming to hazards, physical, chemical, biological, we are aware. We need to specify those hazards. When we say bacteria, we need to know which type of bacteria, like poultry, salmonella will be there, E. coli will be there, staph will be there, okay, Campylobacter will be there. So this type of pathogen you need to identify specifically. We should not write only bacteria there. Okay, pathogen's name that should come specifically there. Glass pieces, metal, plastic, stones, chemicals, which type of drug residues can come. This has to be detailed in your HACCP. Now this is a risk assessment. Now next step is risk assessment, which we need to understand. This is a simple risk assessment based on the wordings like very high. There is a logical approach also. Sometimes there is a codex decision tree also. Okay, and there is a number also. So logical approach can be through numbers. So this is one methodology where risk assessment is carried out. So understand these two terminologies like probability. Probabilities means likelihood of occurrence of anything, okay, which can happen. Here we are discussing about food safety. So what is the chance of the risk occurring? Like frequent, likely, occasional, seldom, or unlikely. Okay, so any food safety hazard, what is the probability? So we can say frequent. Sometime it is like a stone, so we say unlikely. Sometime it is hair, we say frequent. So risk will always change. Okay, but severity will not change. Okay, severity, suppose a glass piece comes, person is going to get injured. Okay, that is a severity. So consequences can be like, now next terminology is consequence. Consequence can be insignificant, minor, significant, major, severe. Now suppose you get a glass in your bread, or you get a glass in a meat sausage which you are eating. In that case you might injure your teeth, or it might get in, the glass might get into your stomach and it will injure your stomach, intestine. Okay, so depending on that you might have to go to hospital and you might have to operate. So it can be like, sometimes it is extreme, sometimes there is a death also. If it is a pesticide, if it is bigger choking hazard, the person may die. Okay, so this is a risk assessment. Now this is one approach here. There is another approach of decision making when we go for identification of CCP. Okay, so I would request Mr. Satya to read first question. Okay, and I will answer the question. Or I will ask the question, you will answer the question.
So anything, we will try. No problem.
Okay. Yeah. So I will ask the question. Okay. You
Okay,
take anything. You take a cooking as a hazard. Cooking as a step. Okay.
So you can start out. So
Yeah.
I'm coming to the first thing. Is the hazard managed by the prerequisite program? There are two options.
Yeah.
One is yes, one is no. The
So-
yes in the sense is the PRP, the prerequisite program. Like for example, if you are culling the bird, and you say in an automated thing, you say that you can have it in a machinery and in a chain line. Then
Yes.
suddenly it breaks.
Yeah.
Then they do it by hand.
Yeah.
So the PRP is not there.
Yes.
So you go to question, are
yes,
the control measures in place or not?
Yeah.
If we
First
have
question.
a backup,
Yeah. First question.
if we
First
have
question.
a,
First, we will just first question. See, we will take a one particular step which people will understand, like cooking. Okay, cooking
yes,
at 75 degree. Okay. Now you ask the question. Okay, you ask the question now. That
if we are cooking the meat, what is the internal temperature we have to find
75
out?
degree. 75 degree is the temperature. So is the
Temperature
hazard
and
managed by PRP? Is this hazard can be managed by PRP? So my
prerequisite
answer is no.
yes. No,
It cannot
No,
be managed.
no.
Yeah. So you ask second question.
So that here I'm going to come. The
Control.
hazard in the sense, if you do not have a thermometer, then how do you measure?
No, PRP
If the
program
thermometer is not there,
the
if the
PRP
thermometer is
program.
not.
No, that is okay. PRP program is about like basic practices, hygiene, cleaning, sanitation. Can we manage cooking temperatures by these basic practices? No.
No, sir.
Yeah. So second question is, are control measure in place for the hazard?
Yes.
Control measure, cooking temperature, yes, yes. Answer is yes.
Yes.
So we go to
Yes.
third question. If somebody says no, then we have to put control measures. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then third question is this process step specifically designed to eliminate or reduce the hazard to an acceptable level? So 75 degrees is specifically designed. Okay. So
Yes,
that
sir.
we get a safe chicken. So answer is yes. That means it will become a CC. Clear? So somebody says no, it is not specifically designed. Suppose Mr. Gaurav says, no, it is not specifically designed. Then what is the fourth question? So contamination can become excess if we don't control it. So answer will be yes. And then is there any step after that, after cooking, is there any step? If answer is no, then it will become CC. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So we'll take an example now. See, these are the normally HACCP plan maintained at poultry processing. Mostly this type of, or maybe some advanced are also there. Some logical approaches are there, numbers are there. But I am showing normally this is a HACCP plan, and we need to improve on that. That's the reason I am taking this another CCP, which is chilling of the birds, and I will take you through one of the session which is mentioning about detail of HACCP. Okay. Now understand this. I'll just take you to that session. Now just quick go through about the process. We have seen FSMS plan, we have seen HACCP, we have seen hazards, on-site hazard review, bird unloading to whole carcass packing. We will just quickly go through this photograph quickly. We will not stay there for longer time. Okay. I have explained you about the HACCP, which is having two maybe basic requirement like GSP and GMP. There is a management system element which is like talking about documentation which runs that. Okay. HACCP we have seen this part. 5 prerequisites, 7 principles we have seen. Physical hazards we have seen in the morning. Chemical hazards we have seen in the morning. Biological hazard. Now this has to be like detailed, like listeria. Morning we were discussing about bacteria. Now what is related to poultry? Listeria, staph, E. coli, Campylobacter, Salmonella, Clostridium, sulfite reducing Clostridia. There can be virus like hepatitis A virus, norovirus, hepatitis E, rotavirus. Multiple parasites are there. Okay. Now this is a flowchart. Okay. Hope you are able to see it. It is getting changed quickly, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So flowchart we have seen in the morning that procurement, holding, antemortem, unloading till chilled chicken. Okay. So this flowchart making is a part of prerequisite 4. Now what we are going to see is how this is done. First you have to see and visualize those parts now. So you remember this bird holding area. Okay. From here you have to start. Okay. Hazard analysis. What can go wrong here? That need to be identified. What physical hazards can go wrong? What
physical hazard is suppose we are not giving a resting thing to the bird after it comes from the poultry farm for 30 minutes. First is we are giving 30 minutes. Second is that when the transportation comes, the coop has to be not to be overcrowded, and it has to be
not physical injury. Physical hazard is about stone, then glass, all these things. Okay, we need to identify those. Microbiological can be see the birds they will be defecating during this lineage during transportation also. So that dirty coops can also contribute the bacteria there, right? So we need to identify those hazards. So I'll quickly go to next. Like there is an antemortem inspection. Okay, there also you need to find out what are the physical, chemical, biological hazard. Then unloading, physical, chemical, biological hazard. Then hanging. Here people are touching the birds. Okay, so they are also contributing bacteria there. Shackles, if dirty shackles are there, they will also contribute the bacteria. Okay, then breast comforter also can they will contribute some bacteria there. Okay, so microbial load will increase whenever you are having unsanitized surface. So hazard analysis has to be at each step. Okay, then there will be stunning, then slaughtering, manual slaughter will be there. Okay, then breeding will be there. Then bird counting cannot be causing any hazard. Okay. Scalding, yes, scalding, there will be again dirty water, which is if not maintain proper flow, it will contaminate the bird. Okay, so biological hazard can happen here. Here also some biological hazard can happen. Deep feathering machine fingers are not clean properly. There also it can happen. Head and trachea puller, there also it can happen. Okay, because it is touching. You can see it's touching to the carcass. So here also, if it is not cleaned properly, it will contribute. Okay, hog cutter, it can contribute. Claw unloader, that it can contribute. You can see the rubber fingers here. Okay, this if it is not cleaned properly, it will contaminate shackle also. Okay. Then birds evisceration section. Here also people are touching the product. Okay, carcass. So here also it will get contaminated. And so putting control measure of sanitation, like you can see vent gun here. So that he is making the hole here also, it will get contaminated. Okay, you can see it is touching. This equipment is touching the carcass. Also, they are contributing some bacteria here. If intestine is damaged, it will also contaminate the carcass. Then there is a vent opening. Again, okay. Harvesting of internal organs, crop removal. Okay, this is a crop removal here. Here also brush touching the surface, rotating brush. Here lung sucker is there. So lung removal gun, which also is touching the bird, that also need to be sanitized. So that also will contribute some bacteria. So you see how many points are there where birds will get contaminated. Now comes the cleaning part. So inside outside bird washer, the water use has to be like cleaning the inside and outside of the bird. So slowly now microbial count will start reducing from here. Okay. It will go to spin chiller. Now spin chiller is again a tank. You can see the tank. These are the augers here. This is the auger here inside, and then this rotating, it will transfer bird to next section, and it will come out. Okay. So this will like spin chiller exit here. This is a nice addition to the, this is a main auger here. You can see sorting inspection, again there can be a touching. Here also auto grade, there is a weighing. There also it can be touching to the part. Okay. So like that, we understand that each step there will be physical, chemical, biological hazard which need to be considered. Okay. Sometimes physical hazard may not be there. Sometimes chemical hazard may not be there. Sometimes microbiological hazard may not be there. So based on that risk assessment, we need to find out, and we need to find out the probability as well as severity. Clear? This decision tree we have seen. Now coming to the CCP determination. Now I will ask the question. Anybody from poultry slaughterhouse? Yeah, anybody from poultry slaughterhouse? Yes.
Yes, sir. Carry on.
Yeah.
We'll it's not.
Okay.
We'll try.
Okay. Okay. So coming to the step, which is called as chilling. Okay, this is a chilling step. Carcass chilling is a step. Okay, so I will ask you the questions. So now what is the hazard type? Biological hazard we will see. Okay, potential hazard we say microbial load, which is specifically salmonella. We will say likelihood of occurrence is medium, severity is high, risk is medium high. Okay, so here what are the parameters? Preventive measures: temperature of the chiller has to be maintained, GMPG has to be followed. Now we are asking the questions here. Okay, so first question: is the hazard like salmonella can be managed by PRP? Answer: what is yes or no?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Second question: are control measure in place for the hazard? Is there control measure in place?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Spin chilling and chlorine addition, that is the control measure we have there. Okay. Now, third question: is this process specifically designed? eliminate or reduce the hazard to an acceptable level. Now, salmonella means we have to eliminate. So is this chilling step is specifically designed? Yes. So it has become CCP. Okay.
CCP1.
So yeah, it has become CCP1. Now, coming this is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now coming to making CCP plan. So CCP number 1 is process step is chilling of dress bud. Okay, or we can say carcass. What is a hazard? Pathogenic microbes like salmonella. You can write salmonella. Okay, or there can be other pathogens also, but specifically pathogen you can mention, or you can write other pathogens which can be also of importance, like E. coli is there. Okay, E. coli, Campylobacter. You can write that detail. I'm specifically taking one example here. Now, what is the critical limit?
Critical limit.
Is a limit at which we can accept or reject. Okay, that is the limit. It's a criteria. Now, if it is like bud temperature should be 4 degree within 4 hours from slaughter. Chlorine level has to be 50 ppm. Okay, so this is a limit. But now when we say limit, this is a for initial beginners it is okay. But as a FASTAC trained supervisor, you should dig into more details like parameter. Now one CCP is there where this many parameter. How many parameter? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 parameters are there. And these are the values of that. Okay. So when we say critical limit, so critical limit will be this parameter. This parameter will become critical limit. Right? You may not have done this earlier, but you remember this, each parameter is important. Now, those who are from slaughterhouse, they can tell me if agitation or air pressure is not there, whether it will help or it will not help. If air pressure, agitation is not there, it will not be able to sanitize the bird properly. Okay, air agitation is given for ensuring that temperature, consistent temperature, and making sure that it reaches to all the cavities of the bird. Okay. Chlorine concentration 50 ppm is important. Water temperature is important. Inlet water temperature. pH of water is important. Line speed is important. Spin chilling time is important. Okay. These are all parameters under critical limit. Even if it is not maintained, suppose water inlet is not maintained, that means you are increasing the microbial load, organic load, and chlorine will not act, and it will impact on salmonella. It will not impact on salmonella, and salmonella may get to further step. So these are the parameters and values which need to consider under CCP critical limit. Okay, and it has those all the parameter has to be validated. Then there has to be monitoring plan, monitoring procedure where what is to be monitored, how it is to be monitored, then when it is to be monitored, where it is to be monitored, and who is the responsible person. Now all this parameter like chlorine concentration, how it is to be monitored, it can be chlorine strip. Okay, temperature thermometer, pH meter, line speed by stopwatch you can check it. Okay, you spin chilling time by stopwatch, agitation air pressure by pressure display. Okay, weight of the carcass by weight weighing balance, temperature again thermometer, strokes per minute you can monitor it through measurement as a stopwatch by using stopwatch, stroke volume by measurement of volume, water inlet you can measure in volume again liter per hour, ice also, ice is not there, the temperature cannot be achieved. Okay, so for one CCP there can be multiple parameters under critical limit, and there will be values for that. Both are important. Clear? So we were up to monitoring. Now corrective action. Corrective action is detecting the root cause and taking action on it. Suppose chlorine level is less. You found out chlorine level. So during that last check and this check, whatever birds were there, you have to again make sure it is properly chlorinated, or you just revert it. Okay. Sometimes there can be long term, like chiller water temperature might be issue. It might be coming 3 and you want to 1 degree. So temporarily you are adding ice. You can have longer time for corrective action. Sometimes the verification which is done by quality assurance, again what you have to check is bird temperature on all these parameters which we have discussed. How? Again, If it is a pressure, then display, then again it's temperature, thermometer, pH meter, like that. When means you can be 2 times per shift, it can be hourly once, it can be based on the risk. Okay. If your line is stabilized and there are no issue, you can have once in a 2 hours. Okay. Responsibility can be QA supervisor. And what are the records to be maintained? Validations record, justification record, chlorine level monitoring record, temperature monitoring records. Okay. Daily verification checklist, audit records, calibration records. There are multiple records need to be maintained under this asset.
Even corrective action and corrective, yes, sir.
Yes. So correction now, yeah, correction is the immediate rectification, and corrective action is identifying the root cause and taking action on root cause. Okay.
Root cause. Okay, sir.
Yeah. So summarize, HACCP is very good tool to prevent hazard. It can be, it can differ from paper and on-site. Okay, that is the reason we need to go on-site and check the flowchart. Parameters and values, remember this, parameters, values are important and thoroughly reviewed. Okay, and HACCP will work when it is practically implemented. So we complete this session on HACCP. Any question on HACCP, you can ask me.
So we can take a break here for 5 minutes.
Yeah, we can take a break and we will have hygiene and safety of egg. It will be again a quick session. Okay.
Okay, sir.
We will
just
take a
give a
break.
break.
Shared the PowerPoint, sir. It's very difficult to follow because there are too many slides and not enough time to read. So please share the slides, sir.
Yes, yes, it will be there. If I'm going fast, I will slow down. Okay. Hope you remember. You will remember this HACCP part at least. Okay. So we will meet around 12. Sorry, it's 15:13 now. 15:20. Okay. 3:20. We will again meet. Okay, shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So before going to the session, next session is about, there is some echo. Okay. Next session is about eggs. So first thing you need to understand is about structure of an egg. Okay. Everybody might know this structure of egg, but we will see in context of making it hygienic egg or where pathogen can enter. We need to understand that. Okay. So yellow color is yolk. This is a shell here. Okay. I've shown it in different color, but it's white. Then this is air shell. Okay. Air shell has got outer membrane and inner membrane. Okay. Now the whether egg is fresh or not, that is one of the indicator here. If it is bigger, then egg is not fresh. Albumin. Okay. This is entire white is albumin, or you can call it as egg white. Inside there is a germinal disc. These are Kalaji, or you can say chalaji. This is mostly the terminology is Kalaji. Okay, Kalaja. Okay, then this will hold this yolk. Then there is a vitelline membrane which is covering this yolk. Okay, these are the major part of structure of an egg. Okay, now there are certain key explanation. See, egg has got eggshell. Eggshell has got around 7,000 to 17,000 tiny pores. Okay, and it is made up of calcium carbonate. Now, whenever we are discussing about pathogen entry, it can or maybe contaminated egg. So egg itself may not be contaminated inside, but it external, because there is a natural protective layer. It is semi-permeable membrane which allows air and moisture, small is a very minute quantity, through its pore. So that layer is called as bloom or cuticle that helps keep out bacteria and dust. Okay, so egg is naturally protected like this. These pore channels are around 60 to 26 micrometer, and these are distributed. Okay, they are able to transmit the gases or water vapor, very minute quantity. So coming to our PPT again, section D talks about hygiene and safety of eggs. So we will quickly go through this because we don't have much time. We have to cover COVID also.
Sir, the screen is coming black.
1 minute. It is visible now?
No, sir. Now it is visible.
Okay. So you were able to see the egg na, earlier?
So after the egg.
Okay, no problem. Okay. So now see egg hygiene starts from now this is for mostly table eggs where products like eggs are sold in a retail market also. So we need to understand that hygiene starts from the farm. So collection and handling of eggs at farm, uh, the farmer who is collecting it should make sure that the dirty eggs are removed from the eggs and they are separated. Cracked dirty eggs. Okay. Then hygienic practices are to be followed there also, because any container which is dirty can contaminate the eggs. So make sure that hygiene is maintained at the egg farm. That is important. Then again, incubated eggs should not be used for human consumption, where there is a like growth of bird inside, where chick inside. Those type of birds should not be used for human consumption. They should be disposed of. Egg collection should be done in a tray. Sometimes it is a plastic tray. There are particular equipment where they need to be cleaned properly. You can, as a farmer, we can use single-use container, okay, and their condition has to be maintained. Maintained properly means they should not be damaged or in a dirty condition. Egg selection criteria is mostly A quality and B quality. Okay, there are grading systems also, but for simple understanding, shell should be clean. So then we call it as a unbroken, practical, normal. Egg should be clear, firm. Yolk should be. So covering all these parameter, it will become AA quality. Even if it is air cell, now you can see the second point, air cell. It is increasing here. So then there will be quality deterioration. Okay. Even yolk also sometimes when we break the egg, it will immediately spread. So that time also it is like not considered good. So considering this, we can segregate, okay, so that it will be sold at a retail area, okay, or retail store. So making this further in detail, like cleaning, packaging, and storage. So entire objective about ensuring this cleaning sanitation of the egg is to consumer safety. Okay, this is related to consumer safety again, because eggs are sometimes it is washed, sometimes there are directly sold in the market. Okay, washing facilities are also there, which can I'll show you some example here where sorting, grading is done. So there are facilities where eggs are packed or maybe processed in a bigger way. So sorting and grading happens. Sometimes it's washing, drying, then oiling. Oiling also increase the shelf life of the egg. Okay, there are processes like candling, packing, storage, and distribution. So this is again when we say sorting, cleaning, and grading. So eggs are graded as per the weight, like less than 50 grams, smaller egg, regular 50 to 60 gram, and larger is more than 60 gram. Okay, so depending on the sorting, grading is being carried out. Then washing of the eggs is here. Washing of eggs should be carried out in a very careful manner because we should not be disturbing their natural bloom, natural protective level. Okay, if we break it and then again there is a problem that it will have external contamination going inside. It is at very micro level, so we may not be noticing that, but it will cause contamination. Okay. So eggs should not be soaked prior to or during washing. It is like processing is mostly it's online processing. Individual egg cannot be washed and again. If it is a smaller volume, we can do it at home. Also, we can wash and then prepare it for cooking. So it differs from industrial level to home. Okay, it will always differ. So this is one of the equipment here, egg washing. This is egg washer. There are series of steps inside that egg washer, and then it will egg will get clean. Okay. Sanitizer. There are sanitizers are also used for eggs. Okay. So again, whenever you are using any sanitizer, that has to be labeled and approved for egg sanitation. Okay. Oiling. Sometimes there is a coating of food grade mineral oil. It is called as food grade mineral oil. It's a common practice so that shelf life can be enhanced. Candling. Candling is again a process to identify any defect in a egg. It's a simple process where eggs are verified against the light source, so that you can see inside any dark area is there or not. Okay, this is called as candling. So it is mostly the blood defect, or suppose certain eggs are incubated, that also they can be identified here. Now, internal egg defects. See, as a food safety supervisor or fast track 10 food safety supervisor, you must be aware about this thing. Sometimes blood, so blood spot can come. Okay, meat spot can come. There can be bloody white. Okay, this albumin can be like it can be like this color. Okay, There can be mixed rot. Okay, so these are internal egg defects. This can be identified during candling also. So candling can identify certain defects which will be helpful for sorting out the eggs. Packing. So coming to packing of the eggs, eggs should be packed in a new packaging, and packing material should be made up of plastic or clean and dried paper trays. There are you can see this type of eco-friendly trays are available. Plastic trays are also available. Sometimes we get in plastic trays. Nowadays, this is easy to handle. Even breakage is also less in this. Storage of egg again. Whenever you are grading the egg, it has to be stored at minimum 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. It will enhance the shelf life of the egg. Chiller rooms, if provided, again should be equipped with temperature monitoring devices, humidity requirement. Okay, and moisture humidity measurement should be there, and then only you can enhance the shelf life of the egg. Transportation. So coming to transportation should minimize the damage to the eggs. Hence, packing is important. The person who is handling the egg should have limited access for handling. Okay, because they are driving the vehicle, so they should not handle the eggs. And vehicle used for transportation should be closed. Okay, it should not properly covered. If sometimes lorries, trucks are used, they should be clean at periodic interval. Okay, and time temperature condition is important in this case. Okay, there can be mobile containers, tanker, like they can be used for cleaning and disinfection outside containers. Okay, egg like the vehicles has to be properly, again, whenever the truckload is unloaded and then it comes to again farm, then there has to be proper sanitation cleaning. Okay, distribution. Again, distribution important is avoid breakages. Wholesale distribution can be controlled through handling the eggs in a proper environment in a cold vehicle, okay, or refrigerated vehicle, where there can be less moisture loss during transportation, and ideally it should be transported at 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. Traceability, nowadays you can see traceability on eggs printed with inks. So stickers are also there. Sometimes their trays are labeled properly. So this traceability is important. There has to be identification of egg layer establishment from where it has come. Okay, egg farm or the farm layer farm. So the system should be easy to audit and record should be maintained for this. Quality tolerances, again, it will depend on the specifications. By if you are buying a larger quantity of eggs, so quality tolerances like not more than 5% of egg in the commodity. So these quality tolerances can be for breakage, can be some defect or cleanliness, weight tolerances, marking tolerances. Okay, so you can decide based on the quality specification. Tolerances are meant for accepting or rejecting lot. Okay, thank you. So any question till now?
Sir, there is the system of Enovo pasteurization system. Would you like to put some light on that?
What is that?
Enovo pasteurization system.
Egg pasteurization.
Yes,
Yeah,
in this Enovo pasteurization, we just do heat the water up to the 60 to 65 degrees centigrade and place the raw egg into that, and
yeah,
suddenly cool that to the temperature about 5 to 7 degrees centigrade.
yes, it is flash pasteurization.
Yes, pasteurization system.
Okay, okay.
That's pasteurization on the poultry.
Yes,
No, egg.
that's in egg.
For eggs.
Yeah.
When you are doing the fluid or when you are mixing it.
There is both system. After extracting the albumin and yolk, we differently pasteurize the product and fill that into the packaging system. But in Enovo pasteurization system, some organizations are doing this by making pasteurizing egg as it is. They don't break the cells. They just keep the egg into the heated water of about 60 to 65 degrees centigrade and pull them into 5 to 7 degrees centigrade. Yeah, there is a Australian organization that's also doing this in-house pasteurization.
Okay, India, anybody is doing? Because I'm not aware about it.
Yes, sir. And some I don't know about Indian system, but there is European and FDA guidelines on this.
Okay.
Is it the
I'm
BRC?
not aware.
Is it the BRC guideline?
No, European EU guidelines might be there.
Yes, sir, I
European
understand.
guidelines.
That's why I'm asking you. There is FSSC or BRC?
No, they may not have defined it. It might be some regulations or maybe processes defined by European Union in their country, different countries. Okay, but no, our methods is not specified in regulation, like what type of activity we should do. They have not specified it. Okay. Anyway, we can go for whichever is best method for us, like flash. If it is that, even oil coating also people are doing. That is different. Okay.
But this technology, I think, must be very costly. Well, it's not the question of cost, but must be updated and it's costly.
Yeah, might be. Yeah, because it's like a chamber where it will the egg will pass for very short time, and then it goes to the further chilling.
Chilling system, yes.
Is it a whole egg or do we put the liquid?
No, this is applied to whole egg. But in some manufacturer in India they are using 3.5% of hydrogen peroxide solution to disinfect egg, and UV sterilization is also there up to 220 to 250 nanometer of the frequency.
Okay, and what is shelf life they are getting?
They are getting about 1 month shelf life and above that.
Yeah. So normally it will be 15 to 30, around 20 days, but it will enhance.
Yes,
Okay. So any other question or shall we start COVID module?
So let's start COVID.